Hello, I'm Mayor Barbara McMorrow, and on behalf of Deputy Mayor Lester Preston, Committeeman Anthony Amiano, Tom Cook, and David Salkin, I welcome you to From the Mayor's Desk. We have a very interesting and very important show for you today. Not that all our shows are not interesting and important, but this one is really quite special. There's going to be a great deal of information given to you, and I want you to not run to get, a pencil and paper, because we're going to have, do people still use pencil and paper? We're going to have the contact information and phone numbers at the end of the show, so it'll be available for you then. We have a building in Freehold Township. It's called the Monmouth County Child Advocacy Center. It's on Kozlowski Road, and I'm sure most people living in Freehold Township either don't know that you're there or do not know what it is. So many of our shows this season we've been doing with what is it, and today, what is the Child Advocacy Center? And taking time from their very busy schedules, and I know because I visited earlier this week, it's a very busy place, we have Debbie Riveros, who is the director of the Monmouth County Child Advocacy Center, and we have Peter Boser, who is the chairman of the board of trustees of the Child Advocacy Center.
Of the Friends of the Child Advocacy
Of the Friends of the
Yes,
Child, I knew I
that's
wouldn't
right.
get that right. Of the Friends of the Child Advocacy Center. Okay. And they have both been welcomed by me to be here today to talk to our viewers. This is a county child advocacy center, so no matter where you're watching this, and our show goes to other communities in addition to Freehold Township, the Child Advocacy Center is something that if you need it, it's there for you. So why don't I turn to you, Debbie, and you can tell our viewers exactly what the Child Advocacy Center is.
So the center is a child-friendly place where children who have disclosed any forms of child abuse can come for a collaborative effort to interview them, give them referrals, and find healing and hope for that child. It is a place where a multidisciplinary team comes together in an effort to bring the child justice, bring them hope, and bring them healing.
When you said child, what age is when children need the Advocacy Center? From what age to what age?
So we usually see children 12 years and under, but it's case by case. We determine if a child older than the 12 years of age needs to come to the Child Advocacy Center for their protection and safety. The method of investigating may be different for that child who's older than 12, but they are welcome to the Child Advocacy Center. So we also bring in people with special needs who may have a developmental age of 12 and under.
No, that's very interesting. I didn't realize that, and we've talked so much about this. I learned something every time we talk about the Advocacy Center.
Yes.
I know that the shovel went in the ground about 10 years ago,
Yes.
and it was funded in part by the Monmouth County Board of Chosen Freeholders, and we're going to talk a little bit later in the show about how it continues to be funded. But let me just go how does a child get there? What brings somebody into the Child Advocacy Center? What happens? What triggers it?
So if a phone call is made to the child abuse hotline, when a child discloses to whether it's a teacher, their parent, another adult, a person who is an authoritative figure, that phone call goes to the Child Protective Service main center in Trenton. They disperse that report to the appropriate agency. That agency will then relay the message to our prosecutor's office. Our prosecutor's office will determine if that child needs to come urgently to the Child Advocacy Center for an interview. Also, we will see if the child needs any medical attention or care. Together, again, as a joint effort between Child Protective Services and law enforcement, we will determine what's the best approach first, and then the child will come to the Child Advocacy Center for that forensic interview.
So when we walk into the Child Advocacy Center, what can we expect?
Okay, so it is a child-friendly environment. It is protected and safe for the child, so that they know that they're in an environment that's welcoming, safe, and all of the supportive services are there for them. It looks like a nursery school, so they feel, again, a place where they can open and speak about what happened to them. At the Child Advocacy Center, besides having friendly faces to greet them, we do have law enforcement. We have Child Protective Services that will wait for them there, medical staff, mental health staff, a victim advocate. Not everybody's there all at once, but they are there as a team, to come and greet the child and see what those needs are for that child.
It's probably better if they're not all there at once. It could be overwhelming.
Correct.
It could be
Yes.
overwhelming. Now, before this,
Mhm.
before it was built, if a child was abused, they had to go to the prosecutor's office, so they would be, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that they had to go into, it was a building, it was the prosecutor's office, so it wasn't very child-friendly, and they had just gone through a traumatic episode or a series of traumatic episodes, and now they're there, and as comforting as law enforcement would be, still the environment was an office, and sometimes they'd have to go to the hospital, which would also be not something that would be comforting as much as the personnel wants it to be. The environment just isn't conducive for a child who is in need. So the Advocacy Center, I know when it was the first part of it did not include the medical portion. And that just came on when?
Well, in 2015, I believe, when phase 2 was constructed, they did put a medical suite. But the child, if there is an allegation of sexual abuse, the child still has to go to the hospital to have that medical procedure done, that exam. But the follow-ups, if it is appropriate and needed at the time of the visit to the Child Advocacy Center, they can have a follow-up there. But usually we do recommend and suggest that they have their follow-ups with either one of our regional diagnostic centers and or their primary care doctor.
And you're busy, unfortunately, I
Yes,
believe.
we are. We're very busy.
Can you just speak to that, how many children you might see, what is I know
So
there's
on
no average day, but.
Yeah, there is no average day. Every day is a little different, but within the year we'll see approximately anywhere between 500 and 700 children within the year.
So if you didn't have the Child Advocacy Center, there really wouldn't be a place for them to go
No.
with staff that's all there working with the child.
Correct.
So it's unfortunately such a necessary place to be. I'm so glad that we have it, and that someone had this idea years ago and everybody went forward with it, because many counties do not have quite what we have. And if you ever are in the Advocacy Center for good reasons, maybe one of their fundraisers or something, you'll see a great deal of planning went into the building itself, so that a child going in feels very comfortable, very protected, at ease.
Yes.
And I think that helps also when the child is there and is talking. It's I know when I was in there, when I took a tour, and believe me, there's a lot that goes on there. They have rooms upon rooms, for all different things for the children. And I just thought that such good thought went into how this was constructed. So we had said at the beginning that the freeholders, I know, paid for some of it. And who else was it at the beginning? Was it
Well,
the prosecutors?
the Child Advocacy Center is a classic example of a private-public partnership. There is a combination of funds. The prosecutor's office spoke with the county government. The county government has contributed a substantial amount of funding for the construction, as well as the land is on the county campus on Kozlowski Road, so it belongs to the county. county also committed right from the beginning to maintain the building, which they continue to do, of course. And then also, there's been a connection with the community, and the organization that I work with, the Friends of the Child Advocacy Center, was created to provide an appropriate way for fundraising. It's not appropriate for the prosecutor's office to ask folks for money for this kind of a thing, but literally Friends of the office formed a separate nonprofit organization in order to do fundraising. So, and the community has stepped up tremendously. This organization has raised over $1 million over the years to, and really to demonstrate the county's individuals, the personnel, the people of this county, demonstrate that their commitment to the appropriate treatment of children in our county. It's just gratifying. It's
And even though
tremendous.
they've raised so much, it's never enough. So
There-
I don't want anyone to think that, well, they have all the money, they've raised all the money, now they don't need anything
And it was,
more.
and it's been a long ongoing
Yeah.
process, as you mentioned, Mayor. This has been a two-step process of construction in the building. The first part was started and was actually, the ribbon was cut just about 10 years ago. But that part of the building was focused more on the administrative staff, but also the initial investigations. And then by more perseverance, by more commitment of the government, the state and local government here, the county government, the prosecutor's office itself, designated a tremendous amount of funding that was through forfeiture funds, forfeiture of ill-gotten gains from criminal activity, and that was also part of the funding. And then the second phase of the building, which adds to, in a tremendous way, as you alluded to, the services that are provided for children and their families. So it's been, and that portion opened a few years ago.
It's been a busy 10 years.
It certainly has, yes.
And as I said earlier, unfortunately, the need is still there, and the need, I think, keeps growing as more and more people become aware of the Child Advocacy Center. How do you get word out to people that you exist?
So we do community events where we educate and inform the community of our center and of the services that we provide at the center. We go to different schools, sometimes temples and churches. We go to broader city events, fairs and National Night Out. So any event that we are invited to, we will go and give a small presentation as to what the Child Advocacy Center is and how they can contact us and receive the services.
When you said contact us, I was just thinking, could a child, because you take up to 12, call you directly? Does that ever happen?
Sometimes it does happen where we have adolescents and or their parents call us, and we guide them to the hotline for them to call the hotline, just so that we can go through the proper means and procedures on getting that report through to the appropriate agencies.
And do they have to pay? Is there a fee for this service?
No, there's no fee.
There's no fee, so if they don't have insurance or they don't have money, they don't have to worry.
That's right, that's right.
And that's part of what the funding also that we do.
The Friends Group has been involved for the purpose of supporting the Child Advocacy Center. And so the funding is to supplement the construction funding, as we talked about. And our job is simply to support, there are government agencies that are involved, there are other agencies, and we want to support in any way we can.
I know that there's a lovely garden there also that we saw that was donated.
Yes, it was donated by the Marlborough Police Department in honor of their captain, and it's for the children as well as personnel who need to take a time to.
Well, it's an oasis.
Yes.
It is. It's very peaceful. It's very lovely. And I think you said even the master gardeners help with it as well. Stop by.
That's
Yes,
right,
stop by.
there's been some assistance, right, it's a community effort, the
Yeah.
entire place is a community effort. When there are some of the enhancements, some of the things that are a little bit extra that you wouldn't expect in a government building, are some of the goals that the community stepped up in a variety of ways. The master gardeners are located in the, connected with the agricultural building nearby on the county campus, and those connections people are willing to help. It's just tremendous what people are willing to do. They'll sweat equity, sometimes, funding, people are very generous.
So if someone wanted to help make a donation, or the sweat equity, as you
Mhm.
say, how would I get in touch? What would I do if I?
The easiest way to get in touch, because we don't have staff, our nonprofit is just a bunch of volunteers. The easiest way is for folks to go through the website of the Friends of the Monmouth County Child Advocacy Center. It's an awkward, long name, but it's the Friends of the Child Advocacy Center. And sometimes Google can be your friend.
Yeah.
Because if we're
Not
close.
necessarily mine, you saw what happened before we began the show, but okay.
Okay, help me. If you search for the Monmouth County Child Advocacy Center, you'll get steered to the right place. If one was to call, and Debbie staff, as I said, they're not the fundraisers, but they'll steer you to us. And so that's just the easiest way. We don't have a phone line that is monitored, but we will get in touch. We will encourage you. We're gratified by people's interest, and so we will certainly respond and be involved with you.
Well, I think that any of our viewers who hear about fundraisers for the Monmouth County Advocacy Center, or if you're just watching this at home and you think that's something I'd like to help that organization, you can go on Google, you can go on, if you're better than I am, you can do that. But you can, in any donation in any amount.
And can I also mention a fundraiser we've got coming up?
Yes.
It's in the planning stages.
Okay.
We have a 5K race and family fun walk.
Gotta make a note.
That
5K.
is, so it's 5 kilometers, but you don't have to do the whole thing if you don't feel like it. But it's for both runners as well as families to get together. It's at Thompson Park in Middletown. It's an annual event. It's going to be the first Saturday in October this year. And it supports this tremendous effort that the folks, the tremendous work they do.
Are you a 501c3?
Yes, we are a 501c3, so nonprofit, so what donations are made are tax deductible, and we just appreciate all the commitment and concern that folks have.
And they do, children are our future. They are one of our biggest assets, if not the biggest asset, and it's wonderful to have all these people coming together with their areas of expertise to help a child, because you've talked about all the different people, and they all work with one child. It's not where they have a whole group, but they wait for a group. If that child comes in and that child's in need, that child is seen by everybody and taken care of. And it's just a remarkable place. So we talk about that, but why is the work so important? Why do you think?
Well, when we bring that healing for that child, that is our main goal. Our main goal is for the child to overcome this tragedy and bring the team together, and using the multidisciplinary team approach allows for it to be efficient. It allows for it to be a smooth experience for the child and their family, and it brings the team together to make this situation just a little bit easier for that child, and giving them that hope that they can survive this and maybe even thrive and become better than they imagined.
Do they ever come back? Do the children come back older? Years have gone by. Do they come back and say, thank you, you helped, look at who I am now?
Yes, we've had several families, and we were just talking about this yesterday, how they keep in touch with sometimes the prosecutor, sometimes our law enforcement agents, our victim advocates. They will come to the center because they just want us to see that they've moved on. They've become successful people in our communities. They've married, have had their children. They share that they've gone through the ups and downs. It's not an easy process. It's a very long journey to that healing, to that stage of success. But they were resilient. and they continued their efforts to healing, to get to the point where they can be that successful entrepreneur or that successful mother of 2 children and have seen them grow into inspiring children. So we do receive those success stories.
That's all the reward. That really is just,
Yes,
that's
it is.
wonderful. Now, I know that you're not open though 24 hours.
No, we
So
are not.
let's talk about that. The hours you are open, and what if somebody has a crisis and it's after hours? So you're open 5 days a week.
Yes. The center is open Monday through Friday from 8:30 to 5 p.m. If there's a case that comes in later in the evening and or during the weekends, we do open up the center for them.
Mhm.
So the center, even though it has office hours, but it's really never closed. We will open up the center for the child and for their family so that they can receive the appropriate services. And some of the team members will come together for that child to the center to provide the forensic interview, family referral, and just that support that they need at that time.
And you have, of course, privacy. They have complete privacy.
Correct.
The records, everything is
Confidential.
confidential.
Correct.
And so no one has to be afraid that
No.
it will come out and cause more of a problem, so.
No, because the child is first. That
Yep.
is our motto. The
Absolutely.
child is first, and our goal is to ensure that the child is safe and that the child is able to tell their story with no fears.
And you bring up a good point, the child is safe. What if the child can't go back home?
So we work together with Child Protective Services to find a safe location for that child at that time.
It really is you might not be open 24 hours a
No.
day, but it really is a 24-hour a day effort, because anytime that call comes in, it triggers a response,
Correct.
where if child is in danger or something, immediately everybody just starts doing his or her job to make
Yes.
sure that child is safe and protected.
Yes.
It's really, as I keep saying through the show, I'm just so amazed, because 10 years ago, we didn't have this.
Right.
So to think in 10 years, what has been accomplished is amazing, and to think of the number of children who come through your doors
Yes.
is equally amazing.
Yes.
Do they sometimes come with parents as well, with siblings?
Yes, they do. So sometimes we will have the whole family at our center, and we do take care of each of them individually.
Mhm.
We ensure that they're okay. If they need someone to talk to, we do have mental health on location, so sometimes that is, I feel, a benefit in having mental health part of our Child Advocacy Center, because
Absolutely.
we can just go right down the hall, talk to our therapist, see if they can come and give that family what they need in that moment during crisis.
Really? That's really extraordinary, to be able to provide all this under one roof at one time.
The center has made such great advances. We talk about it, we talk about that acute need at the beginning when there's a crisis. But one of the areas of growth that Debbie's referring to also is that over the years, the CAC has expanded what it can do. And so they've got, and it made me think of the fact that we're talking about the office hours. But one of the things is that many evenings, the CAC is open for mental health counseling for folks who not necessarily in that moment of crisis, but coming back to a familiar, child-friendly, child-appropriate place to have the child's counseling or family counseling done there. And that doesn't work during school hours. You were an educator.
That's
I know that you
right.
don't,
That's
that doesn't,
right.
that doesn't make sense that you're going to
Yeah.
expect them to show up at 9 o'clock on a school day.
Right.
So the center is open and has these hours in a location that's convenient for many families, and so we've expanded some of the services that are available to county residents for mental health services, so right there at that same location. As I said, we have, Debbie's told me many stories of times when the children are coming back, they're familiar with the center, they're happy to come back, they're happy to be there, it's a safe place, they're getting help, it's a continuing thing. So that's a great thing, and as you discussed before, That's not what a police station's for, that's not what a hospital emergency room's for, that's not what the DIFUS offices are for. They've all got their purposes, but to have everyone come together in a place that's appropriate for the child and put the child first is really the goal.
It's a wonderful goal, and the fact that you've accomplished it is just extraordinary. And I know that your hours don't end at 5, because very often I'm driving down, because it's evening and cars are there, and I said, oh, something is, either a meeting, because you do have organizations come in and meet there as well.
Yes, so we have our board meetings, so the Friends of, sometimes we have peer consultation for each of the disciplines. So we have the medical staff, the nurses that are on call, who come for peer review. We have our detectives who have peer review, as well as mental health. We also have New Jersey Children's Alliance who come and they meet there as well. And the MDT, or Multidisciplinary Team Coordinators Association, also comes to the center to meet.
It's a lovely place. And I think it also makes the adults feel comforted.
Yes.
And peaceful. It is. It's a very peaceful place. And that was part of the design, so that everyone coming there would feel that, because they come in that crisis. And so you need a place that's conducive to feeling safe, protected, comfortable. You've just done such an extraordinary job. Just so you know, Debbie took about 2 hours out of her busy day, and my husband and I took a tour, because I was there at the very beginning, but haven't seen it since, except from the outside passing by. And she said, you must come and see what else we have. I have to tell you, I was amazed at what is in the Advocacy Center, the services provided, how well thought it is, how the different rooms flow to one another. It really, truly is a remarkable place to be. It's a dream come true for protective services, I would think. And then, of course, that we just spoke about the fundraising, which is so important, because even though what we have is wonderful, there are always more things that need. Society changes, needs change. You need to have more, maybe more counseling, or you need to have more people certified and specialized in a certain area, or someday you may have to add on. We talked about a second floor.
Yes.
And you have to dream.
Yes.
If you don't dream, this would never have come into existence if somebody didn't have the dream.
Correct.
So it doesn't stop. It just keeps going and addressing the needs and concerns of our children. I have to tell you that I'm just so impressed with everything that you've done. Not only the building, which in itself is extraordinary, but the people who are so dedicated to making sure that our children are safe. Because really, our children they're all our children.
Yes.
They're our future.
Yes.
Sure.
With years in education, I always said that the children are our future. And if we can continue to save 1 or 100, it's what we need to do as a society. And I think things are getting tougher in society. They are, from way, way back, way back. It's a different society.
Lots of challenges, they're always changing, and the team that responds to these children at the CAC is always changing, always being educated,
Yes.
always responding to whatever the differences are, as well as the fact that some of the things are universal, and the hurt and the needs, some of them have been around for forever, and unfortunately they're not cured, so we need to respond.
Right. Well, I want to thank you, Debbie, and you, Peter, for coming here, for spending the time with me, for sharing with our viewers about the Monmouth County Child Advocacy Center. It's a wonderful place. It's sad to me that we have to have it,
Yes.
but the reality is we do.
Yes.
We're very blessed to have it, especially here in Monmouth County, here in Freehold Township.
Yes.
And though, as I said before, wherever you are in Monmouth County, the Child Advocacy Center is available to you. So you just have to make one call, and that number will appear at the end of our show. And And also, if you're interested in donating, please don't hesitate. Checks, credit cards,
We will make sure that any contributions are taken care of.
and it goes right into the Child Advocacy Center.
Yes.
It goes right back into helping those children who need us the most vulnerable part of our society. And that's why we're here, that's why we do what we do. I thank you so much for making the dream come true, for taking care of our children, for just giving so much of yourselves, and if you would please take that back also to the staff. I met many of them when I was there, I knew some of them.
Yes.
And it's just remarkable what you do. The words thank you really does not begin to express the gratitude that I have, and I'm sure on behalf of the children who have walked through the doors of the Child Advocacy Center.
Mayor, I'd like to thank you
Yes.
for your support and your help, both in this role and your prior role and your other prior role, that you've been supportive for many years in these
Yes.
efforts. And that's what it takes, and you personally and the community
Thank
support,
you.
Thank you so much
Yes,
for
thank
being a
you.
leader here.
You are.
Thank to both of you, thank you, and I'm sure I'll be seeing you. We have a celebration April 29th, yes?
Yes, April
Which is
29th.
the 10th anniversary.
10th anniversary of our Child Advocacy Center.
So in full disclosure, 10 years ago, I was one of the ones who put the shovel in the ground
Yes.
for the Advocacy Center, and I have to tell you, I saw the dream, I just didn't know it was going to become such a wonderful reality. And it's because of the two people you see here and all the people who are not here but are represented by Peter and by Debbie, the work that they do, the volunteers, the people who donate, the people who work there, everybody cares about the children, and there's nothing better than that. So thank you so much.
Thank
Very
you.
much.
And until next time, this is Mayor Barbara McMorrow saying stay safe and be well.